Next, we have someone who is going to talk about providing cost-effective integrated documentation, which is learning solutions for all platforms. And it's Sonya or Reilly who's going to be giving us this presentation.
So let's see if I can stay out of everybody's way, but I will have to go back a little bit later to do to run some demos. So thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit today. I work for a knowledge services company. So I'm going to talk today about the kind of challenges that we see in the service business with our clients for whom we create content. So we're going to talk a little bit about content silos. We're going to talk about the role of learning in the content space and how we're bridging some of the challenges and connections between learning and documentation with HTML5 and DITA. We'll have some demonstrations as well. So I like to be informal in presentations and conversations. If anyone has a question, put your hand up and we'll interact and we'll have a conversation, not a presentation. This is me. I like this picture because it's probably 10 years old, so I look younger in it. I'm the Chief Information Strategist for a Canadian-based company called Innovation. This is my first time in India. Our India office is located in Bangalore. So we've been here for the last week and a half, meeting our team and spending time with our clients as well. Innovation is headquartered in Canada, but we do have a global presence, US, Europe, and of course India. And it's in India that we see our growth and our future as an organization. So we're really excited to be here. We do documentation, we do learning, high-end technical support, and we also do software development. One of the interesting things that I think about our company is that sometimes our clients have problems. There isn't a particular technology solution available, and we develop it. So we have a couple of commercially available products in the market as well as other tools that we use in-house to make us more effective at the work that we do. And that's really what I'm going to talk to you about today. And we're also very committed to research and development. We spend 2 or 3% of our revenue every year on research and development as a company. Because I'm sure many of you are just hearing about innovation for the first time, I wanted to give you a sense of just a small sense of some of the customers that we work with. So when we're looking at information challenges, we might be looking at them in many verticals. We're in the ICT and software markets. We also in the industrial processing market, energy, oil and gas production, consumer-based, post-secondary education. So we're not married to one particular market because we see that information and challenges and opportunities exist across many verticals. I'm not going to read this to you, but again, it just gives you some more detail. And I think everyone has this presentation as part of your STC pack. Just to give you a little idea of the stuff that we do as a company. I spend a lot of time in the content architecture space. So for us, it's not just enough to create content and deliver it. It's really about creating content that solves a problem. Our tagline as a company is really about, our mission statement, I guess I should say, as a company, is really about how do we help our clients improve their business performance through the design, delivery, management, the whole life cycle of information. Today we'll talk a little bit about the custom learning and documentation solution. We've been developing DITA-based and XML content for the last 10 years or so for some large companies and for some small companies. So we'll share some of those learnings today. So anyone in the room who's a technical writer, content developer, a trainer, a doc manager, for a large company or a small company is going to be familiar with content silos. So essentially, we really do work in cubicles, sometimes not just in our office, but in our heads as well, with some separation between ourselves. So technical support, for example. Call comes in, customer's having some trouble. The tech support engineer creates an article and posts that to the knowledge base. Meanwhile, documentation may or may not know that there's a gap in the documentation. Maybe something wasn't there, maybe you couldn't find it, maybe it was hard to read. So the next release of the documentation goes out and it still has a gap in it. Then we have our sales and marketing folks. And we'll be talking more about this on the panel discussion tomorrow evening, which I hope all of you can attend. Sales and marketing is looking for a really wow way to talk about and present information on product features, for example. They want to convince the market that this new feature, this new product is going to be better than anything else. And so they're creating some really nice animations and videos to help do that. Meantime, in the learning space, they're creating e-learning, and again, creating new videos and animations to support the learning. And the information simply isn't being shared across the organization. Conversations may not be happening, or even if conversations are happening, sometimes the problem seems so overwhelming that people don't really know where to start. And this is what we all end up with, a really big headache. So sometimes we get in our own way with solving problems because they feel too big. So a little later in the presentation, we'll just show we're starting a little smaller, starting with something that already exists and just adding to it and enhancing it. So when we work in silos, we end up creating content that's really geared toward a very specific audience. So it may be harder to adapt when we try to reuse it. So it may not be reusable, or maybe no one is even thinking about the potential of reusing that content. As a service company, I can tell you, all of our clients are always asking us to be able to deliver content faster, less expensively, and more innovatively. And sometimes that triangle is really hard. Sorry to interrupt, but then volume shift. Creating environments that make it really difficult for clients to navigate and find what it is that they need. Now, in my conversation, I'm not offering a solution that's going to solve all our problems. But I did want to share a little bit with you about how we're always trying to think about fixing the problems that our clients have. All of us content developers also know that, once upon a time it was enough to write the content and have it in a PDF and get it up on the website. Phew, we made that release and go on to the next. Well, our clients, it doesn't matter what vertical we're working in, our clients are looking for much more than that. They want online content, they want mobile content, they want animations, they want procedures developed in a way, differently, very task-focused. They still want PDFs, they still want HTML. So it's not like anything comes off the table, it's that more goes onto the table. So that's a challenge for all of us in the content development space. And also, I think when you look at some of the new technologies that are coming down the pipe, if you think about Sam George's presentation today where he talked about augmented reality and virtual reality, there's a whole lot of really cool stuff that clients want to do as well, but their ability to afford to do it is still something we're all working on. I always think it's good to share stories and share experiences because that's how we learn. So the next couple of slides are really a composite of some of our clients. So I'm not giving away any secrets about any particular client here. We've been recently, in the last couple of years, working with large oil and gas companies and a lot of employees, and they have pretty stringent training requirements. They also have many facilities and plants, and within those facilities and plants, they have a lot of duplication or repetition or similar equipment and systems and processes. And so today, they're often billing training in documentation form, not necessarily e-learning or online, still print-based. And they're billing training for each particular role in each facility differently, even though there's plenty of opportunity to, plenty of overlap. How do I? Most of us aren't trying to learn all of the concepts around a particular product or process. We're often just looking for the information, the procedure that tells us how to do something. But sometimes you can't have that without some context, depending on where you might be in terms of your role inside the organization and your learning level. So, in innovation, we've been thinking about, how can we help our clients in the documentation space start to take more advantage of the interesting things that we're doing in the learning space. So we're doing gamification and video and animation and micro-learning and things of that nature, which is often very different from the technical documentation, really focused on performing tasks. It's really about reference and what have you. Whereas in learning, we're really focused on teaching and reinforcing skills so that people can take that knowledge away with them and use it on the job. And we get the opportunity to do more multimedia development there as well. So it really is about a continuum. So you have to start somewhere. So for some of our clients, we're really starting from a learning and documentation perspective or an integrated knowledge perspective with some basic learning. And then as we so this is really about just writing the right information. I just want you to see some of these images here. So this is a PDF version of content, and what we've done using our conversion engine is to turn that into mobile content. So we can brand, we can skin this environment any way that we want, and we would take data source content, run it through a transform engine, and output mobile documentation. I'm actually going to show you how the process works because it's pretty clear. And just go back to the presentation.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
I want to know, did you face any challenges in terms of content when you did this? Because if you look at traditionally in the silos that you described, documentation content would probably be more focused on feature function kind of a thing. When you look at learning, the learning continuum, they probably will be focusing more on use case scenarios. It's a more goal-based learning, right? So when you're trying to wrap the same content using the transform bench and the templates that you're putting in, what are the challenges in the content that you were wrapping? I mean, not the format per se, but the actual content.
Right, really the content planning
piece
of it? Yeah, there are always some challenges around the content planning because not all content is written to be consumed in a particular format. So for example, as you mentioned, in documentation we often do a lot of task-based information. So if the learning is really focused on using that application of the software, you have a lot of reuse. You're using the procedural steps as they are, but you're creating the new scenarios or case scenarios in which that learning is going to be used. In other cases, for example, when we looked at from an oil and gas perspective, we were able to use pieces of documentation. So when you're looking at creating, if you can start, and you're fortunate enough at the beginning of a process to understand what outputs that you want, then you have the ability to do that content planning. So you may create a data topic and only use part of the topic in the learning versus what you're using in the documentation. And so there is some upskilling that's required between instructional designers and writers to be able to do that kind of planning. And because we're an organization where we have both on staff and we have content architects who are well versed in DITA and XML and other forms of structured authoring, it gives us maybe typically people would just kind of read it and scan through it and not really pay enough attention to it. So we may use things like gamification in those scenarios. We have used some simple gamification to test basic facts, and it's a way to really ensure that learners are actually completing their test questions and things of that nature. We've also used, so for example, the zombie scenario. I was talking to a client, and they were looking for training for their sales team, and their sales team is young and has short attention spans, is how it was described to me. And they were really looking for a way to keep them focused on the training. And so they were looking for a combination of video and animation and music and gamification to do that. So part of it is to understand who your audience is and their needs, but also looking at the content as well and then a budget as well.
So this works only with data map, so you'll have to be input
XML. So yes, so our instructional designers will write in a data editor in order to create content and then add the multimedia components as part of that. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending some time with me this afternoon. I'm here for the rest of the conference. If anyone has any other questions or wants to chat, stop by our booth in Innovation India, and I'd be happy to talk with you and spend some time and share some ideas. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And to conclude, I would like to present Sonya with a memento from STC.